The steady pulse of Ravallo's cafe thrummed with the cadence of New York City's heartbeat, a harmonious blend of clinking cups and murmured conversations. Danny Ramirez had grown accustomed to this symphony, finding a peculiar solace amidst the background chatter that accompanied her daily hustle. Her grand aspirations had always existed in tandem with the realities of her life, where each bill paid stood as a testament to her resilience and determination. That Wednesday afternoon, as yet another brisk wind swept through the doors, Danny noticed a customer who seemed carved from a different mold than the usual clientele. He was older, with a presence suggesting both gravitas and humility. Oddly enough, it was his shoes that first caught her attention. Well-maintained yet undeniably worn, the shoes contrasted sharply with the cafe's opulence, a detail crying out the tale of a man indifferent to superficial flourishes. She moved seamlessly between tables, balancing trays of steaming cups, while discreetly observing the intriguing newcomer. "Alexander Voss," whispered Beth, one of her colleagues, setting down a tray at the adjoining counter. The name sounded faintly familiar, tickling the corners of Danny's memory. "Wasn't he in the news?" Beth continued, flicking a pen towards a corner table, supposedly vanished a while back amidst some scandal. Danny's curiosity piqued. Her service honed in on the enigmatic figure sipping espresso in solitude. Despite his understated appearance, his reputation carried a weight that could shift worlds, a man whose whispers could stir markets. Yet here he was, alone in a crowded cafe, embraced by the anonymity of the mundane. Dutifully, Danny approached his table, heart thudding with an unfathomable mix of excitement and caution. "Good afternoon, sir," she greeted, offering a menu though certain he wouldn't need it. Her tone was professionally neutral, yet warmed by the genuine hospitality instilled in her over countless shifts. Voss looked up, a flicker of surprise mingling with amusement in his eyes. He met her gaze with a soft, courteous nod. "Thank you, miss." "Just the espresso for now," he replied, his voice carrying the calm assurance of someone accustomed to being heard. Up close, his features belied an expression of quiet endurance, as if carrying the weight of worlds unseen. "Of course," Danny affirmed, retreating with grace, balancing the familiarity of her duties with the intrigue of the unfolding narrative. As the afternoon matured, Ravallo's filled with its usual tide of patrons, businessmen strategizing over laptops, tourists relishing a slice of New York indulgence. Yet an undercurrent of discord disrupted the cafe's rhythm when two men, sharp and agitated, strode in. Their entrance immediately drew eyes and ears, their voices brash enough to drown out the gentle hum of espresso machines. They made a beeline for Voss, confrontational energy crackling in their wake. Voss, one bellowed, an abrasive intrusion slicing through the tranquil air. The other, closing the gap, leaned threateningly. "Thought you could dodge the consequences forever, did ya?" Danny watched from behind the counter, fingers clutching her tray, adrenaline sparking a primal awareness. The cafe had transformed into an unanticipated stage for personal vendettas. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as customers craned to witness the unfolding drama. Voss, amid his espresso, looked up slowly. He was an unyielding fortress of calm under the mounting storm. "Gentlemen, this is neither the time nor place," he intoned, his voice resonating firm, if weary. The aggressors, emboldened by their audience, pressed closer. "You buried us once." The first spat, venom tainting his voice. "We won't let you ruin our futures, too." This was no longer an ordinary shift drenched in monotony. It had spiraled into an ethics play, where the power dynamics of capital and consequence clashed overtly. Danny felt her muscles coil instinctively, not from fear, but urgency born of moral certitude and an inherent refusal to be a mere spectator to injustice. Drawing a deep breath, she wove through the maze-like tables, both the waitress and the warrior within converging at the edge of this unexpected battlefield. Her presence marked a pause. Those around seemed to inhale collectively, awaiting the revelation of her next move. "Gentlemen," she addressed, her voice slicing through the tension with unexpected clarity, "we all deserve our peace. Please take this outside if you must." There was no hesitation in her tone, no room for debate. The cafe fell under the spell of her authoritative poise, eyes flitting between the towering figures and the petite woman who had dared confront them. An unapologetic courage draped Danny's silhouette, an aura palpable even to Voss, who watched with humble admiration veiled behind his measured expression. The confrontation hung in the air, tenuous and taut, until the aggressors retreated, not from submission, but detoured by surprise at her intervention. Their exit left a void filled only by the indecipherable buzz of revived conversations and espresso machines, Danny standing firm in its epicenter. As she returned to her duties, the weight of Voss's gaze followed her. Later, when the cafe's rhythm had resumed its gentle cadence, she paused at his table once more, collecting his empty cup. "Thank you, Miss Ramirez," Voss said softly, his gratitude laced with sincerity that struck deeper than any grand gesture. Danny glanced up, startled yet warmed by the realization. As he departed, the cafe's world felt both larger and more intimate. It had expanded to encompass unimaginable possibilities Mr. Voss's visit had quietly laid at her feet. Danny, amidst the afterglow of her brave stand, understood this as a turning point, one forged in mutual respect, ready to bloom into opportunities she had yet to envision. Danny Ramirez, with her practiced precision, slid through a symphony of clinking cups and whispered conversations at Ravallo's cafe, where she'd spent countless shifts weaving stories from overheard narratives and passing glimpses. Her life hummed along to the city's unyielding tempo, a blend of personal resolve and the subtle companionship found amidst clattering cutlery and aromatic espresso. This Wednesday afternoon unfolded like many before, until a pair of sharply dressed men sliced through the cafe's measured cadence. The air crackled with a shift in tension as the men entered, their suits crisp, voices louder than necessary, fitting like mismatches between grace and jarring reality. As they strode purposefully towards the corner table where Alexander Voss, a solitary island in a sea of effervescence, sipped his afternoon espresso, the cafe fell momentarily silent. Patrons turned their heads, curiosity piqued by the intrusion, challenging the tranquil atmosphere. A murmur escaped from Beth behind a counter, a hushed acknowledgement amongst the staff. "This can't be good," she said, eyes wide, shared meaning lingering in her glance at Danny. The first man's voice rang out, slicing through the convivial air like a discordant note. "Voss." His call was less a greeting and more a public summons, eagerly drawing attention. The others stepped forward, closing in on Voss with predatory intent. "Thought you could scurry away and dodge the consequences?" This was not merely a confrontation. It was theater, raw and unscripted. The cafe seemed to shrink as the patrons collectively leaned in, magnetized by the tension between the unflinching Voss and his vociferous accusers. Danny observed unobtrusively, her tray poised in midair, adrenaline coursing through her veins like a signal flare. Alexander Voss, a man who bore the weight of silent battles across his brow, looked up from his espresso. His calm demeanor was a formidable contrast to the vehement accusations. "Gentlemen, this is neither the time nor the place," he replied with a measured calm, his voice carrying the weight of quiet authority. Undeterred by decorum, the aggressors pressed closer, their indignation igniting further. "We will not allow you to bury us again," one of them spat, a venomous edge sharpening his words, a declaration not just aimed at Voss, but at the universe that witnessed their fall. Danny's instincts roared to life in response. She was not one to passively witness injustice. Actions in the cafe were ordinarily simple enough, refilling cups, delivering orders with a smile, but this was a moment that demanded her to step beyond mere duty. Pausing for a breath, Danny collected herself, then threaded her way through the maze of tables, her resolve hardening with each step. She found her voice firm, clear, underpinned by the unyielding belief in fairness. "Gentlemen," she addressed them, her tone authoritative yet respectful, "we all deserve our peace. Take this outside if you must. There are better places for discussions like these." Her words carved a path through the oppressive air, opening space for quiet dignity amid clamor. For a moment, the entire room paused, caught in a web of her determination. Onlookers watched raptly, pulses synchronized in anticipation of the sky's clearing. Surprised by her intervention, the men hesitated, their earlier bravado dimmed by this unexpected challenge posed by an unassuming waitress. Words faltered on their tongues, caught in a precipice between outraged retort and tactical retreat. They reconsidered, not truly defeated but momentarily stymied by Danny's courage. With shared glances of begrudging retreat, they turned to scatter, bewilderment shadowing their exit, a wavering empire of dominance tempered by a single, confidently voiced protest. In the quiet that briefly followed their departure, conversations resumed cautiously, cautious relief spreading like ripples across a once stilled pond. Danny's heart thudded both with adrenaline and gratitude. She'd done more than maintain order. She'd infused it with integrity. As Danny slid back to her station, Voss's gaze lingered on her, his previous reticence replaced by a profound acknowledgement. When she returned to his table to clear his empty cup, his voice was soft, yet resonant with gratitude that transcended spoken thanks. "Thank you, Miss Ramirez," he intoned, his sincerity as tangible as the espresso she carried away. Surprised yet warmed by his words, Danny met his gaze, a hint of her earlier bravado spilling into her smile. "It was the right thing to do, Mr. Voss," she replied, her simple affirmation belying the shift she felt within, a seed sown in the fertile ground of mutual respect. As Voss departed, the world of Ravallos expanded subtly, now pregnant with potential, that a single act of standing up for someone could unfurl paths previously unseen. Danny returned to her duties, fueled by a resonance of accomplishment she had never known before, ready to embrace whatever opportunities lay on the horizon. In that moment, amidst the comforting murmur of returning normality, Danny understood that life's true art was in these unscripted performances, where choice and courage converged, creating new possibilities and narratives yet to unfurl in the realm of living. And so, unbeknownst to her, the seeds of new beginnings began to take root deep within the confines of the cafe, her audacity having woven an invisible thread linking past encounters to future innovations, waiting to bloom in the sunshine of a billionaire's gratitude. The persistent hum of Ravallo's cafe wavered as Danny observed the charged confrontation unfold. It was a rare spectacle for the cafe, typically tranquil and unruffled, where authority was defined not by stature but by grace. The two men, with their sharp suits and sharper words, seemed out of place, like actors who'd stumbled onto the wrong set. Danny felt the cafe inhale collectively, a pause pregnant with possibilities and silent urging. She didn't need the murmurs as reminders of how spectacle could twist truth into grotesque reflections. Her intuition blared like an alarm. This wasn't just a disturbance. Beneath the quarrels lay layers of unspoken stories. Alexander Voss sat, composed, as if amidst a storm, drawn into their tempestuous exchanges by mere association. His placid response betrayed no emotional upheaval. Yet it was Danny, not Voss, who felt the weight upon her shoulders, a sense of duty to return balance to her corner of the world. Danny's feet moved before her mind caught up. The decision propelled her forward, a waitress wielding only courage and words against an undeniable onslaught. The triviality of titles and wealth dissolved as she approached, fueled by a righteous streak honed through years of witnessing injustices run rampant in smaller ways. "Gentlemen," Danny's voice rang out, steady and surprisingly authoritative. The sharp notes of espresso steamers and conversations ceased. Eyes turned from cups to her, capturing the moment in social memory. "We all deserve our peace. Take this outside if you must. There are better places for discussions like these." Her words cut through the air, rippling outwards with a calm strength. Instantly, she became the cafe's heartbeat, resonating courageously against their aggressive rhythm. It wasn't just reprimand, it was a plea for civility amid chaos. She offered a mirror, reflecting their anger in the light of reason. Surprise flickered across the men's features, shaded with faint embarrassment that stole their bomber jackets of bravado mid-accusation. The one closest to Voss hesitated, momentarily caught off guard by such directness from an unexpected quarter. His earlier passion transformed, muting into consideration of possibly misplaced theatrics. "Danny, right?" He repeated her instructions more for himself than to challenge. The other glanced between her and the crowd, realization softening the sharp edges of his stance. "This could wait," he amended, reluctantly conceding to the unforeseen authority Danny wielded from Ravallo's lacquered floors. Between the pressure of bystander gazes and the unyielding stand they hadn't expected, they glanced at Voss and retreated, dignity dimmed but intact. "We're not done," one remarked to Voss, his pride still clutching threads as he headed towards the exit. Yet Danny's intercession lingered, solid as the marble floors and silent as the stories contained within its illustrious walls. There lay her modus operandi of dignity, a thread woven now tied around loose ends. With the air no longer heavy but shimmering with a subtle glow of resolved tension, breaths resumed, creating ripples of muted conversations that softened their edges. Relief swelled unbeknownst to patrons cocooned around fresh cups and sudden pleasantries. The quiet became a testament to Danny's intervention, a decision pivoting a predictable day into one of quiet triumphs, weaving a new chapter in the cafe's history. Her heart swelled with a pulse fast and triumphant, serenading subtle choreography between her soul and sanity. She held her head high as she returned to the counter, where Beth shot her an approving glance, a silent testament to solidarity. When Danny returned to Voss's table, the tray balanced deftly on her palm, she was met not by the serene account holder of the extravagant wealth, but by a man whose silence carried gratitude more profound than the words he would eventually speak. "Thank you, Miss Ramirez," Voss said, sincerity flowing like warm honey, steeping in gratitude. The disconnect between the scene and expectation unfurled in the graceful turns of his mundanity. Her smile, unforced and genuine, stemmed from affirmations and newfound possibilities. "It was the right thing to do, Mr. Voss," she replied, simplicity coloring her words more richly than any flourish. For Danny, moments like these transcended material validation. They were the currency of life's worth, exchanged freely and received with dignity intact. She felt the territorial shift beneath her feet, a beacon reflecting integrity's light in a milieu occasionally darkened by ulterior motives. Voss's gaze remained thoughtful as he rose, seemingly lighter after Danny's unexpected advocacy. As he departed, an unspoken bond tethered them to an uncharted future, infused with reciprocal admiration. The waitress who'd taken a stand, the man who bore witness, each left enriched by the encounter. As Danny resumed her duties amid the comforting murmurs of returning normalcy, the lesson resonated. Life's true artistry lies in unscripted performances. Here were choices amidst the mundane crafted new possibilities and narratives yet to unfurl. A slate for tomorrow awaited. Unbeknownst to her, she had struck the first chord in a symphony soon to compose her future, a future painted with hues inspired by bravery, respect, and the faith that even in an impersonal world, connections, however fleeting, could open doors previously unseen. Thus, in the cafe, where once had existed only ordinary exchanges, now lay the seeds of a journey to places where standing up aligned pathways towards untapped potential, wrapped delicately in a billionaire's quiet gratitude. Danny stood at the edge of Voss's table, the ripple of her intervention still settling in the ambient hum of Ravallo's cafe. The cafe's usual clatter had gradually resumed, comforting backdrop to Danny's inner tumult. "Thank you, Miss Ramirez," Voss said, his voice measured and calm, yet imbued with an undeniable sincerity that imbued his words with warmth. The gratitude was palpable, bridging the gap between the public figure and the unassuming waitress who had come to his aid. For a moment, Danny just stood there, tray in hand, balancing not just cups and dishes but the weight of the unexpected acknowledgement. In the delicate dance of social interactions, Danny realized she had crossed an invisible threshold, not imposed by riches or titles, but by a simple ethical stand. "It was the right thing to do, Mr. Voss," Danny replied, her voice steady, echoing with more than just politeness. She met his gaze squarely, her dark eyes reflecting earnestness and humility, traits honed not from opulence, but from a life where value was gleaned in simpler deeds. Voss nodded, a gesture layered with respect. "You showed a great deal of courage. I won't forget this," he added, his tone light yet underscored by a promise that wove through his words with a tenacity of threads binding a tapestry. As Voss gathered his belongings, there was something almost poignant in the ease with which he reclaimed his solitude, a man bound by the unspoken codes of his world, now breaking them slightly to acknowledge hers. He left the cafe with the quiet dignity of someone who had shed a weight upon their shoulders, not drastically changed, but perhaps subtly transformed. Danny returned to her duties, her senses attuned to the regular rhythms of the cafe. Yet within her, a deeper awareness thrummed, a consciousness of something profound, as if she had touched a secret pulse untouched by the routine of her daily life. Back at the counter, Danny met Beth's gaze. Her colleague offered more than just a customary nod, but a look of solidarity and perhaps a hint of pride, reinforcing the notion that courage in small things often resonated larger than expected. "You really put those guys in their place," Beth remarked, sliding a plate of freshly baked croissants towards Danny. "Never seen anyone speak like that to a couple of suits." Danny shrugged, a gesture tinged more with self-reflection than dismissiveness. "They were acting like they owned the place," she said, casting a glance around the cafe, the modest elegance of it suddenly more vibrant. "Someone had to say something." Beth chuckled, a sound like the breaking of a dawn. "Well, if ever the barista gig doesn't work out, you've got a future in diplomacy," she quipped, her tone teasing yet admiring. The afternoon wore on, the string of regulars keeping Danny busy, yet her mind wandered back to Voss's quiet expression of gratitude. She found herself replaying the exchange, each detail intricately etched into memory, each moment demanding its own contemplation. By closing time, the cafe returned to its tranquil self, the day's chaos receding like a late afternoon tide. As the lights dimmed, Danny finally allowed herself the space to consider the broader ramifications of what had transpired. In the city that throbbed with relentless pace and opportunity, she wondered how often paths crossed so unexpectedly, altering the course of mundane lives like hers. Danny's commitments, her family, her obligations had anchored her aspirations to the practicality of day-to-day survival. Yet today, something had shifted. That evening, as Danny rode the subway home, she leaned against the window, the blurred city lights casting transient halos in the encroaching night. She mulled over the complexities of wealth, power, and humanity, intermingling forces that too often seemed divorced from her reality, and yet now threaded indistinctly through her lived experience. The echoes of her encounter with Voss lingered, like whispers half-heard and dreams half-formed. They were tenuous yet tangible, offering glimpses into a world she was both curious and wary to enter. What could come of standing up in a moment infused with truth, she wondered. What doors had she inadvertently nudged ajar? When Danny finally arrived home, greeting her grandmother with warmth and genuine affection, she slipped into her evening routine seamlessly. Yet, beneath these layers of familiarity, something nudged persistently at her heart, a feeling that perhaps today's choices had started weaving a narrative anew. As she lay in bed, hearing the steady hum of the city beyond her window, Danny allowed herself the luxury of imagining possibilities, circumstances where integrity catalyzed change, where human connections defied societal confines to effect meaningful impact. The storyline of her life stretched out like a horizon painted with the hues of newfound potential. Somewhere in that intersection of dreams and reality lay both the answers she sought and the questions she was yet to formulate, the billionaire's gratitude a catalyst for her journey towards self-discovery. At the cafe, while the display tables welcomed sleeping shadows under nascent moonlight, Danny began to drift off, content in the knowledge that the weight of her decisions had led her here, a stage set for the stories yet to unfold. Danny awoke the next morning with the remnants of a vivid dream, whispering a chorus of change. As the sun's morning rays slipped through her window, casting golden patterns across her sparse, small room, she felt a tingling sense of anticipation. Replaying yesterday's encounter with Voss like a cherished vignette, she prepared to return to Ravallo's cafe. Little did she know, her world was about to expand exponentially. As she maneuvered through the steadfast New York morning bustle, Danny's thoughts danced between the safety of her cafe duties and the reckless allure of opportunity, each encouraging distinct facets of her identity to emerge. Her day unfolded with the typical cadence of orders and chatter, but the quieter recesses of her mind, she remained attuned to the memory of Alexander Voss, the billionaire at the nexus of routine and potential upheaval. The dishwasher hummed a predictable rhythm when the shrill ring of Danny's phone interrupted. Unknown number. Instinct hesitated her hand, yet curiosity nudged her forward. A man's voice, clear and confident, filled the air between pies and pastries. Miss Ramirez? The voice was punctual, professional, and somehow familiar. This is Oliver Lang, chairman of Voss Enterprises. Surprise caught Danny mid-motion, rendering her still as her brain processed the confluence of the ordinary and extraordinary. Yes, this is Danny, she finally responded, her voice laced with cautious intrigue. Mr. Voss appreciated your assistance the other day, Oliver continued, his tone measured, and has instructed me to offer you a position at Voss Enterprises should you be interested. Time seemed to suspend itself in the cafe, the clatter and buzz temporarily muffled by the magnitude of the words echoing within her. A position? Danny mirrored, her voice a curious blend of incredulity and excitement. Yes, Oliver affirmed. Mr. Voss was impressed by your courage and conviction. We believe such qualities would be invaluable at Voss Enterprises. If you'd like, we can arrange a meeting to discuss specifics. Danny's mind raced, skimming across the surface of doubt and desire. Opportunity shimmered on the horizon, seductive yet daunting. But inside, curiosity unfurled like a morning bloom, casting longing shadows over familiar routines. I would appreciate the chance to learn more, she said, a mixture of resolve and bewilderment coloring her words. Oliver's voice buoyed with approval. Excellent. Let's set up a meeting for tomorrow afternoon, shall we? I'll email you the details. His manner was confident, yet the formality hinted at the scope and seriousness of the offer. As she ended the call, the cafe pulsed back to life around her. Danny felt Beth's inquisitive eyes on her, curiosity ablaze in their depths. Who was that? Beth probed, a knowing smile playing across her lips as she wiped the counter. A job offer from Voss Enterprises, Danny replied, her voice vibrating with a mix of astonishment and elation, a shared secret unfurling into the waking world. Reverence lightened Beth's expression. Wow, Danny, that's incredible. You've got to take it. This could be your big break. Danny chuckled nervously, wiping her hands on her apron's hem. It feels surreal. I don't know what to expect. Her gaze drifted past the cafe, as if peering into landscapes unmapped and memories unmade. Throughout the day, thoughts of possibilities knotted with reminiscences of her relentless perseverance kept Danny's spirits aflame. Her heart skipped with excitement, underscored by the gravity of change, a subconscious acknowledgement that she might soon be stepping into a world at once alien and magnificent. That evening, after her shift and the inevitable slice of comforting routine had played out, Danny gathered her personal artifacts for contemplation. She scrutinized the worn photograph of her mother, a source of resilience, feeling the texture of sacrifices shared across time. Danny reflected on the hard work, struggles, and triumphs that had defined her life, whispering a quiet promise of intent into the bustling city air to remain true to herself. The next day, sharpened by a blend of apprehension and excitement, Danny entered the sleek, glass-clad domain of Voss Enterprises. She was greeted by an elegant receptionist whose poise mirrored the cut angularity of the corporate landscape sprawling beyond. Soon ushered into a polished conference room, Danny sensed the weight of the moment, the cusp of possibility glimmering like uncut gems. Presently, her reverie was interrupted by the arrival of an impeccably dressed man, none other than Oliver Lang, followed by Alexander Voss himself. Voss's presence was impactful, softened by the graciousness he exuded effortlessly. "Danny, welcome," Voss greeted, his familiar gaze lit by admiration and genuine warmth. "Please have a seat." The meeting surged beyond formalities into a discussion that traversed visions and possibilities. Voss, exhibiting a sincerity Danny had only glimpsed of the cafe, shared the intricacies of her potential role. Her analytical skills and innate problem-solving abilities could carve paths within their legal departments, cultivating corners of innovation and justice. Danny listened, absorbing the tapestry of words and opportunities woven before her, each stitched with potential and painted with sincerity. As her conversation wove into conclusion, a flicker of bold determination filled her. "I'm willing to give it a try, Mr. Voss," Danny said finally, feeling a surge of empowerment in voicing her decision. Voss exchanged a look of understanding with Oliver before addressing Danny directly. "Your courage to take a stand is a rare quality in our world. I believe you'll bring valuable change to Voss Enterprises and to your own life story." With those words, an alliance forged amid clinking cups and cutlery at the cafe transcended into a promising venture, a testament to the daring allure of change and an unfolding narrative. Danny stepped forth from the conference room, head held high, navigating an intersection where destiny intertwined with choice, her life-changing proposition humming with potential. Danny awoke the next morning with the remnants of a vivid dream, whispering a chorus of change. As the sun's morning rays slipped through her window, casting golden patterns across her sparse, small room, she felt a tingling sense of anticipation. Replaying yesterday's encounter with Voss like a cherished vignette, she prepared to return to Ravallo's cafe. Little did she know, her world was about to expand exponentially. As she maneuvered through the steadfast New York morning bustle, Danny's thoughts danced between the safety of her cafe duties and the reckless allure of opportunity, each encouraging distinct facets of her identity to emerge. Her day unfolded with the typical cadence of orders and chatter, but the quieter recesses of her mind, she remained attuned to the memory of Alexander Voss, the billionaire at the nexus of routine and potential upheaval. The dishwasher hummed a predictable rhythm when the shrill ring of Danny's phone interrupted. Unknown number. Instinct hesitated her hand, yet curiosity nudged her forward. A man's voice, clear and confident, filled the air between pies and pastries. "Miss Ramirez?" The voice was punctual, professional, and somehow familiar. "This is Oliver Lang, chairman of Voss Enterprises." Surprise caught Danny mid-motion, rendering her still as her brain processed the confluence of the ordinary and extraordinary. "Yes, this is Danny," she finally responded, her voice laced with cautious intrigue. "Mr. Voss appreciated your assistance the other day," Oliver continued, his tone measured, "and has instructed me to offer you a position at Voss Enterprises should you be interested." Time seemed to suspend itself in the cafe, the clatter and buzz temporarily muffled by the magnitude of the words echoing within her. "A position?" Danny mirrored, her voice a curious blend of incredulity and excitement. "Yes," Oliver affirmed. "Mr. Voss was impressed by your courage and conviction. We believe such qualities would be invaluable at Voss Enterprises. If you'd like, we can arrange a meeting to discuss specifics." Danny's mind raced, skimming across the surface of doubt and desire. Opportunity shimmered on the horizon, seductive yet daunting. But inside, curiosity unfurled like a morning bloom, casting longing shadows over familiar routines. I would appreciate the chance to learn more, she said, a mixture of resolve and bewilderment coloring her words. Oliver's voice buoyed with approval. Excellent. Let's set up a meeting for tomorrow afternoon, shall we? I'll email you the details. His manner was confident, yet the formality hinted at the scope and seriousness of the offer. As she ended the call, the cafe pulsed back to life around her. Danny felt Beth's inquisitive eyes on her, curiosity ablaze in their depths. Who was that? Beth probed, a knowing smile playing across her lips as she wiped the counter. A job offer from Voss Enterprises, Danny replied, her voice vibrating with a mix of astonishment and elation, a shared secret unfurling into the waking world. Reverence lightened Beth's expression. Wow, Danny, that's incredible. You've got to take it. This could be your big break. Danny chuckled nervously, wiping her hands on her apron's hem. It feels surreal. I don't know what to expect. Her gaze drifted past the cafe, as if peering into landscapes unmapped and memories unmade. Throughout the day, thoughts of possibilities knotted with reminiscences of her relentless perseverance kept Danny's spirits aflame. Her heart skipped with excitement, underscored by the gravity of change, a subconscious acknowledgement that she might soon be stepping into a world at once alien and magnificent. That evening, after her shift and the inevitable slice of comforting routine had played out, Danny gathered her personal artifacts for contemplation. She scrutinized the worn photograph of her mother, a source of resilience, feeling the texture of sacrifices shared across time. Danny reflected on the hard work, struggles, and triumphs that had defined her life, whispering a quiet promise of intent into the bustling city air to remain true to herself. The morning of the meeting, a seamless blend of exhilaration and nerves accompanied Danny as she embarked on her journey to Voss Enterprises. The city's heartbeat pulsed beneath her feet as she traversed familiar streets leading to unfamiliar destinies, her mind a garden of aspirations. Standing before the glass-clad skyscraper, a symbol of American success and innovation, Danny inhaled deeply. Its towering presence reflected an endless sky, and she felt like Alice poised on the edge of Wonderland. Inside, the polished floors and chic arrangements mirrored her anticipation. An elegant receptionist greeted her with a nod, leading her through corridors humming with purpose and ambition. Ushered into an immaculate conference room, Danny sensed the weight of the moment, the cusp of possibility glimmering like uncut gems. She straightened her shoulders, embracing the blend of courage and curiosity that defined her essence. Her reverie was soon interrupted by the entrance of Oliver Lang, impeccably dressed, exuding authority mixed with approachability. He extended a warm handshake. Glad you could make it, Miss Ramirez. Please have a seat, he gestured to a plush chair. Moments later, Alexander Voss entered, bringing with him an air of relaxed authority. Despite the formal meeting locale, his demeanor exuded warmth, a stark contrast to the clinical world surrounding them. Danny, welcome, Voss greeted, his familiar gaze lit by admiration and genuine warmth. Please have a seat. The meeting surged beyond formalities, guided by Voss's sincerity and commitment to nurturing potential. I envision a role where you could channel your fervor for justice and fairness, he said, each word crafted with intent. Your analytical skills and innate problem-solving can flourish within our legal apartments, championing innovation and integrity. Danny listened intently, absorbing the cascade of possibilities and responsibilities. The room pulsed with a rhythm of shared visions, an orchestration of change and dreams crystallized. Her path, uncharted yet, shimmered with promise and uncertainty. Their dialogue wove a tapestry of understanding, each thread symbolizing aspects of commitment and trust. As the conversation approached its conclusion, Danny felt a surge of bold determination. Her voice, small yet resolute, emerged with certainty. I'm willing to give it a try, Mr. Voss, Danny said finally, feeling a surge of empowerment in voicing her decision. Voss exchanged a look of understanding with Oliver before addressing Danny directly. Your courage to take a stand is a rare quality in our world. I believe you'll bring valuable change to Voss Enterprises and to your own life story. With those words, an alliance forged amid clinking cups and cutlery at the cafe transcended into a promising venture, a testament to the daring allure of change and an unfolding narrative. Danny stepped forth from the conference room, head held high, navigating an intersection where destiny intertwined with choice, her life-changing proposition humming with potential. As Danny stepped out of the conference room, the magnitude of what she had just committed to resonated within her like thunder rolling through a boisterous sky. The confident veneer she had maintained throughout the meeting now gave way to a tempest of doubt and excitement swirling beneath her calm exterior. The realization settled in. Her life was about to change dramatically, potentially leading her far from the familiar aroma of espresso and freshly baked pastries that had, for so long, been her world. Navigating the bustling corridors of Voss Enterprises, Danny felt a twinge of alienation amidst the modern architecture that simultaneously daunted and inspired. The floors shimmered like polished silver under her footsteps, while conversations in curtained-off offices resonated with ambition that now called to her. She wondered if she, a simple waitress, truly belonged in this sphere of influence. Over the coming weeks, Danny's adaptive journey was a whirlwind akin to learning a new language, the dialect of corporate culture, where jargon and unspoken rules formed the syntax of success. Her new colleagues presented a spectrum of reception. Some welcomed her with open camaraderie and the curiosity of newcomers, while others cloaked themselves in skepticism, wondering what a waitress could possibly contribute to this world steeped in power suits and corporate strategies. Still, Danny refused to be deterred. She leaned into the discomfort, fueled by Oliver Lang's kindness and Voss's quiet encouragement. The firm's legal department, pulsating with cases and motions, presented an intricate dance of legality and morality. Here, Danny began her initiation into the heart of the company's operations, the unyielding core where decisions bore real-world consequences. The bustle of corporate life challenged her at every turn. Late nights with legal documents spread like a tapestry across her desk became her new norm. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders, yet she carried it with the tenacity of one who knows the stakes are greater than themselves. Danny's evenings bled into nights, and nights into the dawn light that heralded another day. She drew strength from the photograph of her mother, now a fixture on her desk, alongside colorful post-it notes and highlighters that marked her journey through unfamiliar terrain. Her mother's eyes, full of wisdom and courage, reminded Danny of the sacrifices made and the legacy she carried forward. Guided by late-night phone calls with Eva and Marcus, the steadfast pillars of her newfound support, Danny navigated through company politics. Eva's wit lightened heavy moments with humor, while Marcus's analytical mind provided clarity in the fog complexity of corporate reports. The trio often met in a small break room on their floor, a cozy haven with its own stories shared over coffee and thick bagels from a bustling deli nearby. With cardboard cups in hand, they unraveled tangled corporate threads, planning strategies to champion integrity amidst ambition. Remember, Danny, every challenge here is just a page in the story we're penning together. Marcus often reassured her with the certainty of a seasoned analyst who'd seen the pendulum swing from triumph to trials and back. His words provided solace, and a reminder of the collective strength that bolstered them in a world stitched together by hierarchy and hidden agendas. In moments of solitude, as players' voices reverberated down from the office above and Manhattan's melodies vibrated against the glass walls, Danny sought refuge in introspection. Within, she recognized an iron truth. One's identity, though shaped by experiences, could adapt, evolve, and embrace new dimensions. Adapting was not about abandoning her past, but instead weaving it into the tapestry of her future. Challenges were often disguised as opportunities she learned as she sat through meetings, sometimes reduced to a quiet observer in the back of grandly furnished conference rooms. Yet, amid a storm of papers and procedures, Danny discovered sparks of revelation and growth, emboldening her resolve. "It's a crucible, Danny," her mother had once said, a fragment of past advice whispering encouragement as she cursed the complexities of case law late one night. Fire refines but never destroys. Under this refining fire, Danny found herself changing. Her heart, still beating in rhythm with a cafe simplicity, learned to discourse with the language of data and decisions. Her mind, a landscape alive with possibilities, began to comprehend the eternal dance of ambition and ethical responsibility. A pivotal moment arrived when she stood at a crossroads of moral and professional exigencies, having unearthed an overlooked discrepancy buried within dull reports. It was a chance to assert her voice, to apply her nascent understanding of law and justice, qualities Voss recognized in her, all against the grinding machinery of corporate inertia. Faced with skepticism and subtle opposition, she forged ahead impelled by conviction. She drafted a memo detailing her concerns, her words carefully calibrated to balance diplomacy with truth. It was her stand, a declaration that integrity held reign in her domain. The result was a board meeting, convened after much preliminary debate, where Danny was granted a chance to present her findings. Under the stark spotlights of the conference room, the very room in which Voss first extended his offer, Danny's heart drummed with determination. Her presentation was not just a narrative of discovery. It was a testament to perseverance, marked by phrases she once overheard in the cafe, by her mother's whispered wisdom, and the camaraderie of her newfound allies. The gathering's outcome was a turning point, the culmination of her trials and adaptation materializing in applause riveted by acknowledgement and respect. With her insights validated, the board enacted changes that would ripple through Voss Enterprises, heralding a shift towards transparency and ethical governance. Danny's journey within Voss Enterprises had transformed her, from a waitress defending a wronged patron into a beacon of transformative justice. She found solace in this transformational crucible, emerging not as someone else but as the truest version of herself, honed and ready to craft the legacy she had promised to honor. In adapting to this new world, Danny learned that while trials shape one's path, it is the unwavering commitment to core values that illumine the way forward, light shared with all whose lives intertwine with hers in the ever-unfolding story of courage and change. As Danny stepped out into the halo of office lighting, the world of Voss Enterprises seemed to hum around her, buzzing with focused intention. Her mind teemed with newfound responsibilities, and the profound shift this change heralded, from the comforting warmth of milky espresso to the cool pragmatism of contracts and spreadsheets. As she ambled down the corridor, a spectrum of emotions played across her heart. Charged with the whirlwind of new tasks, she found herself gravitating towards a different kind of challenge not measured by tips and tables, but by ideas and integrity. In this vast expanse of corporate flame, Eva Garcia emerged like a brilliant constellation in a midnight sky. Her quick smile and penchant for sarcasm quickly became not just a balm but an encouragement. Eva quipped one afternoon over a shared lunch of salads and sparkling water. "This place needs someone like you shaking up its routine. Believe me, a fresh pair of eyes is worth its weight in gold." They were in the break room, a small sunlit sanctuary set apart from the glass and steel behemoth embracing them. Posters of motivational catchphrases adorn the walls alongside photo calendars depicting idyllic landscapes, a picturesque escape from minds often bound by deadlines. Danny loved how the room felt, filled with laughter and conversation that bridged the distances formed by cubicles and roles. The sound of Marcus Lee's hearty laugh danced through the room as he joined them, balancing a precarious stack of paperwork and a cup of strong coffee. Entering with his unusual blend of analytical prowess and amiable warmth, Marcus often found solutions hidden within the data streaming ceaselessly across monitors. "Teamwork makes the dream work, Danny. If you need a number crunched or a system analyzed, just holler." Marcus offered Danny not only support but a new way to see the story's numbers could tell, a view she quickly learned was crucial in their politically clever domain. The trio often exchanged knowing looks and whispered plans, deftly navigating the channels of influence with the tenacity of explorers charting new terrain. Days rolled into nights filled with shared goals and determined dialogues. The synergy of their friendship fortified Danny's resolve to uphold fairness within a world thick with ambition. She found herself leaning into their support, feeling it envelop her like a shield against the skepticism that sometimes curdled her resolve. Despite reservations from some corners, Danny's coalition was formidable, bridged by shared values and forged in quiet determination against the eddies of doubt. One autumn afternoon, colored with falling leaves whispering across Manhattan's skyline, the three gathered at Daisy's Deli, a modest yet popular refuge a few blocks from the office. The scent of toasted bagels and cream cheese wrapped them in a memory familiar, yet profoundly different from Danny's cafe days. "What do you say, Danny?" Eva nudged her with a wink. "You haven't even begun to tell us what adventure you want next." Danny chuckled, picking at the sesame bagel before her. "Honestly, I'm still in awe of how far everything's come. The cafe's warmth always grounded me, but now I find myself weaving those lessons into this life I never foresaw." Pleased nods greeted her response. Marcus leaned back, regarding Danny thoughtfully. "Funny how life stitches us into its grand design, right? Don't forget, you might just be the needle who pulls things together here." A spark of inspiration flowed through Danny at his words, sending a pleasant shiver down her spine. The legendary statement her mother had once shared whispered its wisdom: embrace each thread you meet, for their stories in themselves. In the following weeks, Danny took her friend's words to heart, realizing that this corporate world, with all its intricacies and challenges, was also layered with unspoken stories. As she delved deeper into records and meetings, she attuned herself to listening, initially to words, then to silences filled with their own narrations. Eva's subtle suggestions and Marcus's keen insights nurtured a confidence within Danny, a belief that, together, they could effect change rooted in understanding and collective virtues. Their essence became palpable during critical meetings, where Danny dared to echo her allies' merged convictions, challenging the status quo subtly, yet effectively. One significant turning point arose when Danny stumbled upon a troubling financial discrepancy. Though her instincts urged discretion, the camaraderie she'd fostered gave her courage. She convened a clandestine meeting in the break room, not unlike battlefield strategists poring over maps laid on rustic tables. "I found something suspect, numbers that don't add up." She turned the papers around to face Eva and Marcus, their expressions sharp with focus. Eva nodded, her gaze determined. "We can investigate further, start connecting the dots." But Marcus interposed gently, his demeanor serious. This can potentially shake things up. "It's not just numbers, it's integrity." Their encouragement prompted Danny to action. She crafted her findings into a comprehensive report, the paper brimming with annotations highlighted by her signature flair for color coding, a habit carried over from cafe orders once scribbled on slips. The memo wasn't merely a report, it signified a declaration, of values Danny had adopted and woven into this vast enterprise. When she finally stood before the board, beneath fluorescing lights casting sharp shadows, Danny's heart pounded, not out of fear, but due to the significance of the moment. Beside her, faces she considered both friends and champions silently promised their support. With steady voice tinged with determination, she presented her evidence, a patchwork of integrity and discovery, hoping to draw upon the ethical roots so often obscured by ambition. In those crucial moments, the alliance Danny formed transcended professional participation. It became a testament to shared momentum towards justice and reform. The air crackled with reverent silence before erupting in collective recognition. For Danny, it became a juncture of transformation, an affirmation that standing beside allies under the glaring truth could truly alter the landscape. As the impacts of their actions rippled through Voss Enterprises, Danny understood that this newfound strength couldn't be unraveled. In their journey, she found not merely allies but co-authors in a chronicle of integrity and change. Their shared story, a beacon within the vast city, illuminated the path to a world sculpted not just with ambition but humanity, one thread at a time. As Danny stepped out into the halo of office lighting, Voss Enterprises thrummed with a peculiar energy, the promise of significance lurking beneath its polished veneer. The serenity of afternoon sunlight through high windows belied the tempest simmering under the surface. She was engulfed by the rhythm of tapping keys and muted conversations, the symphony of corporate life creating an orchestral performance of modern ambition. Each day felt like another verse in a song she'd only recently learned but somehow felt destined to sing. Amidst this waking dream, Danny found herself amid conversations both mundane and profound, grappling with responsibilities demanding an evolution from her cafe origins. She walked corridors of opportunity with the intent to weave her unwritten narratives into a new tapestry, one capturing the dreamscapes of personal growth and justice. Guided by these newfound aspirations, Danny became vigilant, delving into the souls behind cubicles, piecing together bits of information like vibrant patches against the complexities of corporate armor. Her bond with Eva Garcia and Marcus Lee became anchors as they navigated this sea of possibility. Their shared musings during lunch breaks transformed into midnight sessions of spirited dialogue, the trio like covert insurgents determined to explore truths wrapped beneath polished surfaces. One dim October evening, as city lights twinkled like grounded stars beyond expansive office windows, Danny unearthed something both intriguing and alarming. A financial report whispered secrets of deception, anomalies hinting at manipulations deeply woven into the corporate fabric. Instinct urged caution, yet the camaraderie she'd nurtured bolstered her determination to chase revelation along uncharted paths. The soft clicking of keys accompanied her thoughts while she compiled evidence, each keystroke echoing her mother's wisdom. Threads or stories, her mother's voice lingered, etched in memory. This story before her, hidden in numbers, beckoned for a narrative of justice. "I found something," Danny began, glancing at her friends across the break room's cozy expanse during an impromptu meeting. Her voice, infused with resolve, resonated against the room's cheerful decor of motivational posters and serene landscape calendars. Eva leaned forward, her expression a mask of curiosity and understanding. Marcus, always keen to sense opportunity, nodded approvingly. "What do the numbers say?" he asked, leaning over to see the highlighted columns and footnotes meticulously arranged. "I've connected some dots, and they paint a troubling picture," Danny replied, excitement tempered by the gravity of the situation. As Eva and Marcus delved deeper into the revelation spread on the table, Their expressions of concern and resolve mirrored her own. Together, they formed strategies, connecting the fissures in corporate accountability with strands born from their unified vision. "This isn't just numbers," Marcus spoke after a moment, his tone grave yet filled with purpose. "If you're right, it could expose deeper issues within the firm." Eva's eyes reflected determination. "We've got your back, Danny. We'll follow this wherever it leads. We need to ensure that what's right is made transparent." With their resolve shoring up her confidence, Danny crafted her discoveries into a cohesive document, a tactical map charted to resonate with the values Voss Enterprises once stood for. Her report wasn't simply about figures. It was an embodiment of her identity, the relentless pursuit of justice and truth that propelled her metamorphosis from waitress to a pivotal changemaker. As the mounting tension of a coming reckoning wove itself through her days, Danny summoned the courage needed to step into the boardroom, the arena where ideals would clash against skepticism and resistance. She couldn't help but reminisce about the myriad battles within the cafe, where defiant glances and reassuring exchanges had taught her the same lessons on human resilience she now carried like a talisman. On the day of her presentation, Danny stood beneath the keen scrutiny of fluorescent lights casting stark shadows across the faces of board members. Silence followed her upon entering, a prelude to the storm she hoped would clear the clouds of deceit. She looked across the table to Eva and Marcus, their presence lending support stronger than any concrete pillar. In confident steps, she approached the projection screen, vivid displays of her findings amplifying each note of her speech, each slide a testament to diligent search and unerring commitment to truth. Her voice, laced with conviction, outlined accusations as naked strands of light unearthing what lay hidden. Whispers filled with disbelief heightened the room's tension, a curious symphony that underscored the significance of her endeavor. In these times, Danny began, sensing the gravity of shared anticipation. When trust can be fragile, revealing the complete picture is not just necessary, it is vital. Recognition rippled through the assembled minds, echoing cautious acknowledgement. Even among skeptics, the assurance that attributed numbers held inherent power mingled with the beating rhythm of emerging justice. It was, above all, the reactions, initially muted, then burgeoning, that signified success. They met her with questions and resistance, yet also with a tension engendered from the earnest clarity of her truth. Thrumming energy marked the atmosphere in the room as conversations branched into debates, challenging the newfound transparency while admitting its evident necessity. Later, back in the sanctuary of the break room, their fortress of shared resolve, Danny and her allies exchanged glances brimming with satisfaction and relief. Laughter, so vibrantly expressing triumph, reverberated, etching this moment in gratitude and camaraderie. Marcus raised a symbolic toast with his coffee cup, his voice rich with warmth. To the remarkable waitress turned revolutionary, an exemplar of courage. Eva joined in, her amusement tempered by admiration. "You took us on quite a ride, Danny. Here's to taking the next steps together." Danny, buoyed by the shared victories and the enigmatic dance of trust weaving their paths, knew the strength of alliances could enlighten the corporate empire pressed against Gotham's skyline. Emboldened by her companions and the evolving narrative, she felt fortified enough to face any shadowed corridor ahead. In the aftermath of her revelations, Danny found herself not merely continuing a story but authoring new chapters. Voss Enterprises, now poised to heal and rediscover integrity, echoed her journey, embracing the evolution from hidden truths to transformative transparency, a triumph threaded with brilliance woven into the city's shimmering quilt. The moment felt surreal as Danny pulled herself together a few moments before presenting her findings. Standing at the threshold of the Voss Enterprises boardroom, she felt the weight of expectations press against her chest. This place, synonymous with both grandeur and a tapestry of hidden secrets, loomed large, its walls nearly vibrating with the anticipation of revelations. Her journey had started miles away in the cozy confines of her Valos Cafe, an unassuming waitress whose grave sense of justice had landed her at this precise juncture. Danny took a deep breath, the rhythmic cycle calming her racing heart. Memories of her late mother provided invisible, reassuring hands on her shoulders. "Threads are stories, Danny," her mother used to say, weaving tales as she worked on fabrics at home. Stories hold power, and Danny was ready to tell one of her own. As she entered, the room quieted instantly, the eyes of seasoned executives, their skeptical glances seasoned with caution, tracing her movement. She walked to the head of the table, the plush carpet muting her steps as she approached the projector, a harbinger for the storm she was about to unleash. Eva and Marcus flanked her, embodiments of encouragement and solidarity. Their presence was a blend of professional decorum and unyielded support. Danny was not alone. The board members shifted in their seats, whispers merging into a hum before silence reigned. Clearing her throat, Danny noted the row of attentive faces. Here sat individuals accustomed to power, whose influence determined livelihoods and futures. Among them, Alexander Voss sat poised, his thoughtful gaze meeting hers, offering a shared understanding of the stakes involved. Any flicker of apprehension dissolved as Danny drew strength from that connection. With a decisive click, the projector illuminated, casting stark colors and bold figures onto the screen. The vibrant displays of her findings took on an almost ethereal glow in the dim room, powerful visuals designed to pierce the layers of doubt and denial. "Good morning," she began, her voice unwavering and poised. "What we present today goes beyond numbers. It's a narrative of our past choices, current truths, and future possibilities." Her opening dissolved the tension like a pin dropped into still water. Minds around the table became attuned to the resonance of her message. Danny's slides, rich with details, spun a tale of financial anomalies, whispers of misappropriation and manipulation hidden within the grand expanse of corporate operations. As she progressed, the story unfolded into chapters: discrepancies in vendor accounts, suspicious payment flows, and unauthorized diversions of fund allocations. Each revelation was a shard of glass reflecting the need for transparency, echoing the core values Voss had once championed. "These patterns suggest more than isolated errors," she stated clearly, navigating skepticism with the precision of a surgeon. "They speak to systemic issues, walls built through oversight or perhaps intentional concealment." A ripple of unease spread through the boardroom. The shadows of doubt howled against the light of truth, resisting but slowly yielding ground against Danny's undeniable evidence. Marcus interjected, his calm demeanor adding weight to her assertions. "In every misstep lies the potential to reflect and reconnect with our founding principles. This analysis gives us an opportunity, no, a duty, to course correct." During their presentation, Danny seamlessly fielded questions and counterarguments, each response grounded in the diligent groundwork she and her friends had laid. Eva's input, concise and emphatic, projected solidarity, reinforcing their conclusions. Even the occasional unfriendly glance from a wary board member failed to ruffle her composure. Danny's focus lay not on individual resistance, but on collective stride toward integrity. Her key slide highlighted initiatives for seamless transparency, new audit protocols, reinstated ethics committees, and a promise for openness, a commitment to the very bone Voss Enterprises was built upon. She concluded her presentation by addressing Alexander Voss directly, her voice wrapped in earnest determination. "It said that truth and courage are powerful allies, Mr. Voss. By bringing this to light, we can embrace the opportunity for collective redemption, reaffirming the integrity that defines us." Voss's response was measured, his voice steady as he nodded, echoing an unspoken agreement. "Danny, your insights are invaluable. The road to rebuilding trust goes beyond mere words. It demands actions informed by clarity and accountability. This is the way forward." The room hummed with a mix of newfound energy and cautious hope, a testament to the shifting tides of intention. What followed was an intense deliberation, each nuance invoking growth and change, a testament to the relentless pursuit led by Danny and her unwavering allies. Hours later, in the familiar coziness of their break room, Danny, Eva, and Marcus relished the success of their arduous efforts. The air resonated with triumph and relief, underscored by laughter rich with the promise of new beginnings. Marcus, raising his coffee like a victorious flag, toasted, "To Danny, our fearless leader, a symbol of courage and truth." Eva joined, her smile reflecting proud admiration. "Indeed, here's to forging paths and building bridges, Danny, together." Danny, centered in the warmth of her companion's camaraderie, reflected on the circles her journey had drawn. Once an ordinary waitress, she now stood at the nexus of change, torchbearer illuminating the way forward for Voss Enterprises. Their triumphs crafted the legacy of a single act of courage, a defiance in defense of a stranger that now rippled outward, carving new roles in a world driven by justice. As dusk descended, bathing the city in gold, Danny looked beyond the office windows towards a skyline alive with possibility, a skyline she was more than prepared to change. With the city's lights guiding her journey and the unwavering support of friends by her side, Danny embraced the narrative of renewal and growth, poised to script futures driven by truth, compassion, and unwavering resilience. The crescendo of applause still echoed in Danny's mind hours after the meeting had officially adjourned, resonating with a symphony of vindication and hope. As she made her way back to her office, each step felt lighter, as though the burden of so many sleepless nights and grueling days had somehow transformed into kinetic energy propelling her forward. Seated once more at her desk, Danny allowed herself a moment of reflective silence. The sun had begun to dip beneath the jagged New York skyline, casting a kaleidoscope of soft gold and fiery crimson through her window. Amongst the shadows of nearby skyscrapers, she felt anchored, tethered to something larger than herself, a mission, a commitment to justice and integrity that reached beyond individual triumph. A soft knock on her open door brought her thoughts back to the present. It was Eva, wielding a celebratory pastry box from the cafe downstairs, her eyes bright with pride and lingering relief. "Thought you'd need a little sugar high after the whirlwind you just orchestrated," Eva quipped, setting the box down with a flourish. Danny gave a weary yet heartfelt smile, her affection for Eva evident. "Seriously, do these come with magic to keep these moments surreal?" she asked, gesturing towards the treats. "As close as one can get," Eva replied, settling into the chair across from her. "You pulled off what many thought was impossible." Danny shrugged modestly, glancing out the window. "I was backed by a team that believed in more than just dollar signs." Marcus entered next, his phone buzzing with congratulatory messages from their shared colleagues. "You're going viral, Danny," he announced with a chuckle, waving his phone in the air like a modern-day herald. "The industry's buzzing. They're calling it the Danny effect." Laughing, Danny took a moment to process the newfound spotlight, remarkable and slightly overwhelming. "Let's hope it's not short-lived, though," she mused, accepting Marcus's toast, a mug of coffee, as unapologetically caffeine-rich as the day demanded. Together, the trio reflected on their turbulent journey, the initial skepticism, the doubts cloaked in harsh whispers, and the constant specter of personal bias clouding professional judgment. Yet they had emerged, their resolution tested but never broken. "What do you suppose Voss is thinking?" Eva wondered aloud, her gaze drifting towards the shadowy corridor leading to his office. Danny imagined the solitary contemplations of Alexander Voss, a man whose empire had been rocked by revelations yet saved by the truth he had always championed beneath layers of corporate complexity. Her unexpected ally had navigated his share of treacherous waters, and his redemption now seemed intertwined with her own emergence, a shared narrative arcing towards a brighter future. The door creaked open, and to their collective surprise, there stood Voss. He entered quietly, his presence as unassuming as it was commanding. There was a noticeable change in his countenance, a kind of serene gravitas anchored by newfound resolve. "Danny," he began, his demeanor stripped to the formalities that typically accompany his stature. "Can I have a moment?" "Of course," she replied, nodding to Eva and Marcus. They rose in collective understanding, leaving the room to their silent leader and his unexpected protege. Once they were alone, Voss approached the window, his gaze wandering to the city pulsing with its endless possibilities. "You've given us light where there was shadow," he remarked, turning to face her with a sincerity unclouded by affectation. "I couldn't stand by knowing what was at stake," Danny replied, meeting his eyes with quiet strength. "Voss Enterprises has become more than just a workplace. It represents my belief in growth, something we all deserve." Voss nodded, acknowledging her inherent truth. "When we first met, I recognized in you a spirit that wouldn't bend to chaos," he recalled, his voice imbued with warmth. "Yet, the ways in which you've transformed us continue to astound me." Danny allowed herself a moment before responding. "Your faith allowed me to act." Together, we navigated truth and action, and that conviction set the course right. The compact silence that followed was charged with mutual respect, reflecting what had become a relationship of collaborative mentorship and friendship. "You know, your efforts have recalibrated this company's compass," Voss observed, his admiration unpretentious. "Our new initiatives will redefine what we stand for." Their conversation meandered from reflections to prospects, Danny absorbing Voss's vision of sustainable, integrity-driven leadership. They discussed transparency, the introduction of equity programs, and the creation of partnerships that extended beyond borders, initiatives that aimed to heal divides and spur innovation. With each exchanged idea, Danny's confidence blossomed. Voss's acknowledgement of her role felt transformative, cementing not just her place within the company, but contributing to a broader story of corporate responsibility and resilience. As their meeting drew to a close, Voss stood, offering a hand not simply in gesture, but in solidification of the path they would continue to forge together. Thank you, Danny, for everything. Taking his hand, Danny felt the current of change pass between them. Her heart swelled with a sense of purpose and camaraderie. Thank you for believing in what we can achieve, she replied, her voice a reassuring current amid the tumultuous peaks of their journey. With Voss gone, Danny returned to her desk, where a view of the electric dusk enveloped her. The next chapter awaited, a landscape ripe with the narrative she envisioned, partnerships cemented, policies revised, and communities uplifted. Her past days as a waitress seemed to resurface as a poignant reminder of how stories could evolve, threads intricately woven, emboldened by courage and dedicated allies. Triumphant yet humble, Danny stood at the confluence of her past and present. Here was a beacon of hope she couldn't have anticipated, a future built on trust, ready to cast its light onto a world ready to learn and adapt. As the night enveloped New York, Danny watched the city beneath, possibilities unfurling like constellations against the steadfast sky. Knowing they mirrored the world she was ready to change, story by story, action by action. The crescendo of applause still echoed in Danny's mind hours after the meeting had officially adjourned, resonating with a symphony of vindication and hope. As she made her way back to her office, each step felt lighter, as though the burden of so many sleepless nights and grueling days had somehow transformed into kinetic energy propelling her forward. Seated once more at her desk, Danny allowed herself a moment of reflective silence. The sun had begun to dip beneath the jagged New York skyline, casting a kaleidoscope of soft gold and fiery crimson through her window. Amongst the shadows of nearby skyscrapers, she felt anchored, tethered to something larger than herself, a mission, a commitment to justice and integrity that reached beyond individual triumph. A soft knock on her open door brought her thoughts back to the present. It was Eva, wielding a celebratory pastry box from the cafe downstairs, her eyes bright with pride and lingering relief. Thought you'd need a little sugar high after the whirlwind you just orchestrated, Eva quipped, setting the box down with a flourish. Danny gave a weary yet heartfelt smile, her affection for Eva evident. Seriously, do these come with magic to keep these moments surreal? She asked, gesturing towards the treats. As close as one can get, Eva replied, settling into the chair across from her. You pulled off what many thought was impossible. Danny shrugged modestly, glancing out the window. I was backed by a team that believed in more than just dollar signs. Marcus entered next, his phone buzzing with congratulatory messages from their shared colleagues. You're going viral, Danny, he announced with a chuckle, waving his phone in the air like a modern-day herald. The industry's buzzing. They're calling it the Danny effect. Laughing, Danny took a moment to process the newfound spotlight, remarkable and slightly overwhelming. Let's hope it's not short-lived, though, she mused, accepting Marcus's toast, a mug of coffee, as unapologetically caffeine-rich as the day demanded. Together, the trio reflected on their turbulent journey, the initial skepticism, the doubts cloaked in harsh whispers, and the constant specter of personal bias clouding professional judgment. Yet they had emerged, their resolution tested but never broken. What do you suppose Voss is thinking? Eva wondered aloud, her gaze drifting towards the shadowy corridor leading to his office. Danny imagined the solitary contemplations of Alexander Voss, a man whose empire had been rocked by revelations yet saved by the truth he had always championed beneath layers of corporate complexity. Her unexpected ally had navigated his share of treacherous waters, and his redemption now seemed intertwined with her own emergence, a shared narrative arcing towards a brighter future. The door creaked open, and to their collective surprise, there stood Voss. He entered quietly, his presence as unassuming as it was commanding. There was a noticeable change in his countenance, a kind of serene gravitas anchored by newfound resolve. Danny, he began, his demeanor stripped to the formalities that typically accompany his stature. Can I have a moment? Of course, she replied, nodding to Eva and Marcus. They rose in collective understanding, leaving the room to their silent leader and his unexpected protege. Once they were alone, Voss approached the window, his gaze wandering to the city pulsing with its endless possibilities. The office felt intimate and expansive at once, walls reflecting stories of past triumphs and treacheries now poised to be rewritten. You've given us light where there was shadow, he remarked, turning to face her with a sincerity unclouded by affectation. I couldn't stand by knowing what was at stake, Danny replied, meeting his eyes with quiet strength. Voss Enterprises has become more than just a workplace. It represents my belief in growth, something we all deserve. Voss nodded, acknowledging her inherent truth. When we first met, I recognized in you a spirit that wouldn't bend to chaos, he recalled, his voice imbued with warmth. Yet, the ways in which you've transformed us continue to astound me. Danny allowed herself a tender moment before responding. Your faith allowed me to act. Together, we navigated truth and action, and that conviction set the course right. The compact silence that followed was charged with mutual respect, reflecting what had become a relationship of collaborative mentorship and friendship. Surrounded by the fading hues of sunset, their shared gaze seemed a dialogue on its own, of aspirations unspoken, dreams yet realized. You know, your efforts have recalibrated this company's compass, Voss observed, his admiration unpretentious. Our new initiatives will redefine what we stand for. Their conversation meandered from reflections to prospects, Danny absorbing Voss's vision of sustainable, integrity-driven leadership. They discussed transparency, the introduction of equity programs, and the creation of partnerships that extended beyond borders, initiatives that aimed to heal divides and spur innovation. With each exchanged idea, Danny's confidence blossomed. Voss's acknowledgement of her role felt transformative, cementing not just her place within the company, but contributing to a broader story of corporate responsibility and resilience. She envisioned scholarships for underprivileged students, investments in clean energy, and new ethical business practices, a blueprint for a more compassionate future. As their meeting drew to a close, Voss stood, offering a hand not simply in gesture, but in solidification of the path they would continue to forge together. Thank you, Danny, for everything. Taking his hand, Danny felt the tangible current of change pass between them. Her heart swelled with a sense of purpose and camaraderie. Thank you for believing in what we can achieve, she replied, her voice a reassuring current amid the tumultuous peaks of their journey. With Voss gone, Danny returned to her desk, where a view of the electric dusk enveloped her. The next chapter awaited, a landscape ripe with the narrative she envisioned, partnerships cemented, policies revised, and communities uplifted. Her past days as a waitress seemed to resurface as a poignant reminder of how stories could evolve, threads intricately woven, emboldened by courage and dedicated allies. It was a stark juxtaposition between her beginnings and the horizon she now faced. Triumphant yet humble, Danny stood at the confluence of her past and present. Here was a beacon of hope she couldn't have anticipated, a future built on trust, ready to cast its light onto a world ready to learn and adapt. As the night enveloped New York, Danny watched the city beneath, possibilities unfurling like constellations against the steadfast sky. Knowing they mirrored the world she was ready to change, story by story, action by action. The air crackled with promise, weaving through the veins of a city alive with its own narrative symphony, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dared to believe in the impossible. Danny smiled, feeling the embrace of every future dawn and the chorus of changes to come.